Good afternoon and welcome to the Pellegrini Athletic Complex in Malvern, Pennsylvania for today's presentation of Malvern Prep football on the Sports Fan Base Network. Kevin Fodinger alongside Mike Mataraki and Frankie Stokes is on the sidelines today. Your 7-0 Malvern Prep Friars will welcome the 5-1 Episcopal Academy Churchmen. And for Malvern head coach Dave Carrera, it's a little bit of a homecoming of sorts on homecoming weekend for this Malvern group, in that he was the OC at Episcopal Academy for 2 seasons. And in those 2 seasons, Episcopal put up an 18-3 record, which is the best 2-year record in program history, including the best season in Episcopal history, a 10-0 2012 campaign, which was their last league championship to date. And, of course, Coach Dave Carrera has a nephew on the Episcopal team. Last season, Mike, was the first time that Coach Dave Carrera got a chance to go back to his old stomping grounds where he was the OC, and it was a successful affair, the 20-7 victory in what was an undefeated league campaign for Malvern.
Absolutely, Kevin, and as you said, Coach Carrera, the OC at Episcopal, brought that offensive philosophy here to Malvern, and we've seen a lot of offense out of this Friar squad over the past 2 years. Last year, if you look at the names of those who performed, there's going to be a lot of familiarity. The star of the game last year, O'Shawn Allison, now at Ohio University, had 23 carries for 103 yards, but Quincy Watson toted the rock 11 times for 53 yards, and Drew Gunther eclipsed 100 yards passing. On the Episcopal side, again, the names are going to be familiar. Barley finished with 100 yards on 19 carries, and quarterback Marcus Mcdaniel, a dual threat last year just as he will be today, 126 yards through the air, 35 yards on the ground.
We're underway after the kick from Nick Bates. D'Angelo Stocker, a little bit of a bobble, but under control, and makes his way across the 20-yard line. A decent return toward the 25. And he is upended there by Matt Bush and a host of other men in white shirts. And Matt Bush is the nephew that we mentioned of Coach Dave Carrera. A little bit of family bragging rights on the line, the junior for Episcopal. So now we get a chance to see the Malvern offense for the first time today on Alumni Weekend, homecoming day, putting up 347 yards of total offense, and a lot of those through the air off the arm of Drew Gunther. 37 points per game for the Friars this season on a 7-0 campaign. Gunther will hand it off, and they'll start up the middle. Quincy Watson has been interesting this season in that he dealt with a little bit of a back injury early on, but the main reason that he only played 2 of the team's first 6 games is because as a fifth-year senior, he is ineligible to compete against PIAA schools and members, and so that's why he had to miss a couple of games. But as we know, the Interact not a member of the PIAA, for better or for worse, so he gets to play the rest of the way, does Watson.
And still tied for the league, or the team lead in rushing with about 310 yards, give or take.
And Watson, a decent run there to set up a third down and maybe 3 across the 30-yard line.
Interesting, Kevin, you were talking about the aerial attack with Drew Gunther, and 1,555 yards so far, and with 4 games remaining, a very real shot to eclipse 2,000 yards passing for the season and perhaps even close in on 2,500.
We go back to Watson again. He's got the first down. Nice leap there to get to the 36-yard line. And the tackle made by Barley. First down of the game.
And Barley, a 5'9", 185-pound do-it-all senior. And this Episcopal Academy Churchman squad only has 7 seniors this year, so those that are present are going to have to really make an impact.
Versus 22 seniors, as we've talked about for Malvern Prep. And once again, on the outside run, it's Watson making some men miss. And we'll only get about 2 yards there. Jumping on top of the pile at the end of the play was Dylan DiBenedetto, the sophomore.
And some fancy footwork there by Quincy. A little hop to the left, a skip to the right, plant the feet, and try to get upfield. And as you said, DiBenedetto wrapped nicely, and down Quincy went.
Still waiting for the first pass, a team that averages 228 yards per game through the air, and they have 15 touchdowns. Gunther will throw to the right. It's Leach. And Leach trying to add some yards on. Second first down made and into Churchmen territory to the 48.
Pushed out of bounds. That is good for another prior first down.
15-yard gain on that. And as we've seen multiple times, a lot of the yards that the receivers from Malvern get are after the catch, and Leach, no stranger to long receptions. He's averaging 33 yards per catch.
And this offense that Dave Carrera runs does a great job of getting his receivers into space with the ball.
Gunther again will toss to Watson. And yet again another gain of 1, and DiBenedetto was there at the end of the play.
Interesting. It was a little slow to develop. I think it was a great play call in that it's a short toss that will allow Quincey to take it either outside to the sideline or break it up inside, depending on where the hole opens up. But it looked like Gunther was a little slow on the toss and took just a little too long to develop there, Kevin.
Watson coming off a big game where he had 16 carries for 106 yards and 3 touchdowns against Penn Charter. This one out of the Wildcat to Lonnie White, and White is able to skate forward to about the 40-yard line. We've seen that a little bit this season, sprinkling in White there with his athleticism, that 4.5 40 ability. So a 3rd down and 3 for Malvern.
And, how many times has Coach told us in conversation that with Lonnie's speed and agility and overall athleticism, he's not afraid to use him anywhere on the football field.
Watson to Gunther's right. Handoff going to Quincey Watson. And he shakes out of 1 tackle. And then he's driven down after another first down inside the 35-yard line. Good job by Matt Bush, the junior, of staying with the play. 3 first downs on this drive. The 9th play upcoming. It's the first offensive series of this game.
And the money down so far, Kevin, Malvern Prep 2 for 2.
And the money down is the word that Malvern's using this season for 3rd downs, both offensively and defensively. Very psychological approach to the offseason in terms of limiting mistakes. It'll be Watson again, and this time read very well by Episcopal. And we do have a flag on the play, finished off by Malcolm Folk, the sophomore.
And this will be interesting, Kevin, because it looked like Quincey went to initiate a straight arm there and may have gotten a hold of a defender's face mask, but it looked like he was also being face masked. And it's going to be the classic hold.
So after all that, your eye was drawn to that face mask, and the holding call will back Malvern up for the first time this afternoon. 7:46 left in the first quarter. As we mentioned, the first drive of this game. Homecoming weekend for Malvern Prep, 7-0, seeking their 3rd straight Interact title. But we're only in week 2 of the Interact schedule, and we talked about this before the game, Mike, that the winner of this game, it's obviously not over by any means, but is in decent position to go for that conference championship.
Without question, and certainly Malvern at this point has their sights set on an undefeated season. As they look at their schedule, they think there's got to be 2 big stumbling blocks left, and this is definitely one of them.
Through the hands of McGuire, and good defense applied on the play by Jack Bush, the senior. Jack and Matt are cousins for Episcopal Academy. And we mentioned that Matt is the nephew of Coach David Carrera for Malvern Prep.
Interesting scenario here is, should we play like 3 degrees of separation from Coach Carrera? He's got a nephew on his own squad, a nephew on the other squad, and the nephew on the other squad has a cousin who's not related to Coach Carrera on the same team.
It's interesting, and the Bushes have an interesting dynamic as well, as they played on rival CYO teams growing up and spend a lot of time in the summer at their grandparents' house. And learned to play together very well as Gunther is able to get outside the pocket and create some space for himself. Back toward that original line of scrimmage. He's forced out at the 40-yard line by Matt Bush, and we don't see Gunther run a lot.
No, and it's actually a real smart move by Drew. I think he was looking for Lonnie White deep down the field, and D. Will Barley was running stride for stride with him, and there was just nothing there.
3rd down and 16. Malvern has to get all the way to the 24 of Episcopal here for a first down. 3 first downs on the drive so far. Play number 11 upcoming with just about 7 minutes to go in the quarter. Gunther over the middle, caught for a first down and more. And that is a touchdown for the Friars. Michael Hussey takes it 40 yards to the house, and the Friars are in the lead.
Fantastic throw into traffic by Gunther. Hussey with a great catch, breaks a tackle, spins back against the grain, takes it in. And Malvern Prep, for the first time in quite a while, Kevin, gets on the board here first at home.
And that is Drew Gunther's 11th straight game with a touchdown pass. 7:11 to go in the first quarter. And Sebastian Costantini, the senior from Collegeville, on to do the kicking. He's made 21 points via the PAT. And make that 22 as it's 7-0. Malvern Prep with 7:11 left in the first quarter.
The Friars are on top, 7-0. The Malvern Prep community would like to thank the Villa Maria twirlers and cheerleaders for entertaining this crowd this afternoon.
Nice long drive to get the scoring started here. And for Malvern Prep, Kevin, the Friars, they needed that because they've been victimized by some big plays by the opposition during the first series here on their home turf. And that drive right there serves to give them control of the game.
Well, they succeeded on 3rd down on that drive. 11 plays, 76 yards in 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Again, it was Hussey finishing things off for the 40-yard touchdown reception, and that was just his 3rd catch of the season.
Malvern Prep 3 for 3 on 3rd down on that drive, including the 3rd and 16 to Hussey that he winds up taking all the way to the end zone.
So Costantini will kick it deep.
Number 24, Jack Bush.
Was a touchback maker last season for sure. 18 touchbacks last fall. That D1 leg, Coach Carrera said that Virginia Tech may have a possibility to walk on there, and still fielding possible Division I offers is Costantini, who was a top 20 decathlete as well. Excels in the hurdles. Coach Carrera told us he can dunk as well at his height around 6 foot. Fairly impressive. So a little bit of a low kick, and it is fielded by Jack Bush. And Bush is out across the 20, and he runs into a couple of tacklers, and then he's fought down to the ground by Jake Brownlee, the sophomore, and also Christian Bachrath for Malvern.
And there was a huge hole cutting back from left to right, and Christian Bachrath got in there rather quickly and closed up that hole, or else, quite frankly, Bush may still be running right now. He was coming right at us, and we could actually see the running lane, and Bachrath closed that down in a hurry.
So we get a chance to see Episcopal's offense. As you mentioned, dual threat capability at the quarterback position. And D. Will Barley, the running back, a Villanova commit. Marcus Mcdaniel, the starter. He's going to hand it off. And the pile being pushed, and then some, out across the 35-yard line. Nice run by Barley for a first down on the first offensive play of the game for Episcopal.
And Barley on the season, 77 carries for 580 yards, as you mentioned, a Villanova commit. And Marcus Mcdaniel, the dual threat junior, 55 of 90 for 730 yards through the air and 360 yards on the ground, so certainly a weapon in and of himself.
After the 12-yard gain there, they will pound it forward to the 45-yard line. And that was Billy Adams, the sophomore, with his 42nd carry of the season. He's averaging around 6.7 yards per carry, so we'll talk a lot about Barley today, but there are other weapons in terms of the running game for Episcopal to watch out for.
Yeah, and a game just a few weeks ago when D. Will Barley missed the game against the Hill School, Billy Adams carried it 21 times for 148 yards, so certainly another weapon in that Episcopal backfield.
And he's back there again And they will hand it off. And Adams is stonewalled at the line. No gain on the play. It brings up third down and short. Keith McGuire with the stop.
And you said stonewalled at the line of scrimmage, and I immediately thought to myself, there has to be a number 4 looming close by, and sure enough, the Clemson commit, Keith McGuire, on the stop.
Malvern's perfect on third down offensively. This is their first third down opportunity defensively to get off the field. It's a 3rd and 3 for Episcopal. 5:40 to go in the first quarter, and Malvern has a 7-0 lead, courtesy of a Drew Gunther touchdown pass to Michael Hussey. Malvern showing blitz left side, and the run goes left and goes nowhere, a loss of a couple. And that was Bush who had to carry that time, Matt Bush, and John Turley.
It looked like John Turley and Nick Carrera got in there for the Friars and shut it down before it could even get started. Looked like a loss of a yard or two on the play and forcing the punt.
So they'll punt it to Lonnie White, who does have punt return touchdown to his name. It's a short punt fielded by White inside the 30. And he's going to take it toward the sidelines. Got to wheel out pretty far. He's pushed, and nice job of staying with the tackle for Episcopal Academy. And that was Billy Adams, the sophomore. We mentioned him a moment ago with the final stop.
Billy Adams showing the versatility there, not just out of the backfield, but special teams tackle. Did a real nice job running Lonnie to the sideline and eventually forcing him out of bounds.
Drew Gunther, you mentioned his numbers coming in around 1,500 yards. Last season, he threw for 1,667 yards, which is second all-time behind Alex Hornibrook's 2,000-plus in 2014. And so just do some simple math, and Gunther is well on pace to eclipse his numbers from last year. Handoff will go to Watson on the counter play, spins out of one tackle, and then he's fought to the ground by Adams and Matt Bush across the 40. So second down and manageable here.
And interesting, we were talking about Lonnie White on that punt return. I was just handed a note by our executive producer that Lonnie is just committed to Clemson for baseball. Interesting.
A 3-sport star, that's what Coach Dave Carrera told us. And coming into this season, he was on that watch list, one of the top sophomores in all of Pennsylvania on the football field. This will be Gunther throwing, looking for White, and cannot reel it in with a one-handed opportunity. Third down and short.
Insert he didn't have a glove on his hand joke here.
You're just setting yourself up for that. I'm not going to comment any further.
Yeah, well,
and again, we mentioned it's a sophomore.
We'll leave that one alone.
So still some time to change if he wants to, but can outrun a lot of guys. He's that prototypical rangy and speedy type receiver. Can also play a little quarterback. Doesn't need to, obviously, with a guy like Drew Gunther at the helm.
Although I'd be willing to bet that we do see him at quarterback quite a bunch next year.
And we have seen some Wildcat packages this year, of course, as it looks like we're going to have a timeout on the field. 4:07 left in the first quarter. You're watching SFBN's presentation of Malvern Prep football, brought to you by Granite Run Buick GMC in Media. Kevin Fodinger, Mike Mataraki, and Frankie Stokes on the call today. And Mike, let's get down to what might be a key for Episcopal. And we've already seen the running game do some work. D. Will Barley's a player that was hobbled by an ankle injury early in the season, and Episcopal still able to get some wins there, but Coach Fairley has said that we need him at his best. And actually last week against Springside Chestnut Hill, Barley only had 7 rushing attempts in the first half, and the Blue Devils jumped out to a 13-0 lead. Then all of a sudden, Episcopal scored 28 unanswered, and a lot of that was because Barley topped 170 on the ground and ended up with 2 touchdowns. And that guy's quite a dynamic player, and he's one of the faces that fans may remember from last season. And he finished with 56% of the Churchmen's points last year, 138 points scored. That's an all-time record last year.
Oh, and if there's one key for the Malvern defense, it's definitely going to be shutting him down.
As it looks like another first down right at the stick, right at the 45-yard line, as Ryan Iacone made the reception there. Iacone's a player that we saw get hurt, took a rib injury on a carry, on a sweep against Petit. It was tough. He had been averaging around 6 receptions the last couple of games. They're slowly working him back into the offense, and it's good to see that he's healthy. Lehigh, Lafayette, Delaware, there's are schools that have looked at him, and he's letting his playing do the talking.
And certainly that play there where he had to spin out and break a tackle to get the first down, shows that he may be getting healthy a lot faster than we know.
Nice job moving through the holes by Watson. Bounces forward to the 41-yard line where he is wrapped up by Jack Bush.
Yeah, he hurdled a would-be tackler, got the first down, and looked like he was about to find some open field and essentially got sandwiched by Jack Bush and Billy Adams, or else there was some daylight ahead for Quincey, but it's another 11 or 12 yards, and Malvern Prep is now operating in Episcopal territory once again.
6 first downs for the Friars already with just under 3 minutes to go, right around 3 minutes to go in the first half, or first quarter, excuse me, as Gunther throws down the left side and incomplete, looking for Taji Leach. Applying the coverage was Malcolm Folk, the 6'1 sophomore.
And Malcolm Folk is a youngster, a sophomore, but this Episcopal coaching staff really likes him. You'll see him get a lot of touches on offense, whether it be through the air or on some jet sweeps, things of that nature. As a receiver, he's over 100 yards receiving on the season. He's also gotten 11 carries this year, so let's keep an eye out for him on both sides of the ball today.
2nd down and 10 for the Friars. Had an 11-play drive their first time out on offense. And that one's batted down, nearly intercepted. Matt Bush got a hand on that one. He has his hands on his head right now. And very fortunate to come away with the football back, or the Friars, and get another chance at it on 3rd down and 10.
And it looked like Drew double clutched on that one, thinking that Matt Bush may not be there, and he was. And by the time he got rid of it, Bush had a hand in the passing lane and knocked that one down.
3:16 to go in the first. Malvern trying to remain undefeated. They've won 12 straight dating back to last season. 7-0 this season. It's the second week of the Interact campaign for both squads. Spotless so far in terms of records. Gunther going deep down the middle and incomplete. He was looking for Ryan McGuire, the junior, and that will bring up 4th down.
And he had to get rid of that one for Episcopal. Brandon Cox, the 5'10", 175-pound sophomore safety linebacker, was coming on the blitz and came around the end and put a little heat on Drew and forced him to get rid of that one a little earlier than he would have liked.
Costantini will punt it away to Aiden Chavis, the sophomore. Hear that a lot. Again, we mentioned sophomores. 16 juniors and 16 sophomores on this Episcopal Academy squad this season. Fair catch called for. And it gets an Episcopal bounce, and Malvern's able to field it just inside the 25.
Smart play there by Peter Kern, number 45 from Malvern. Saw that the ball was bouncing back towards the line of scrimmage and just grabbed it and put it straight down on the turf.
Todd Fairley, the head coach of Episcopal Academy in his 8th season, 50-27 record with the Churchmen, 65% win percentage. And Coach David Carrera for Malvern, his 2nd year with the Friars, 13-4, including that championship campaign last season. It'll be a play action on the option, the right side, and that was caught by Malcolm Folk. You mentioned his name earlier. They'll use him a little bit in the run game and the pass game, and he nearly got a first down there.
Yeah, great little play design that sets up a 2nd and short.
That's not being used.
So 2nd down and 1 for the Churchmen. Averaging 24 points per game, only allowing 17 per game. And a lot of the yardage that they've gotten has been on the ground. 236 yards per contest for Episcopal. Had a very big day in terms of the running game against the Hill School, as you alluded to earlier, Mike. And we've got a flag before the snap could start, hard count being employed.
And a lot of the principles to their offense, Kevin, is they like to run the ball, as you said, and they also use their short passing game as an extension of the running game. You'll see a lot of quick tosses out to a wide receiver, a lot of screen passes, a lot of plays that are predicated to getting their speed and their skill players the ball in space, much like Dave Guerrera's offense here at Malvern Prep. So obviously that Guerrera influence is still there.
2nd first down of the game for the Churchmen with 2 minutes left in the first period. Mcdaniel's going to roll to the left side. Pass is caught. And it'll be a gain of about 4. That was Folk again with his 2nd reception of the afternoon. Cade Zostic, the junior, to help drive him out of bounds. The corners for Malvern are very stingy, combined for 5 interceptions this season. Both athletic, talented, they understand the system. They weren't necessarily the returning starter guys, but Coach Carrera coming into the season was very happy with what he had to work with.
And he spoke very highly, especially of Zostic, when we spoke to him before the season.
1:22 to go in the first quarter of play, 7-0 Friars. And they will hand it off. Will the Churchmen here, and they're going nowhere. Pick a name on that line who made the tackle there.
You just give it to the interior of the Friar defensive line.
So 3rd down and 6 for Episcopal. One of the things that Coach David Guerrero told us coming into the season, his line defensively might have been a little undersized. Not that they couldn't play, of course. They have a lot of experience. We mentioned those 22 seniors. And so he's got those quote-unquote lunch pail guys, as he told us, up front. The guys like Stinger and Turley.
Watch the matchup out here with Bush.
Mcdaniel's looking that way. He's looking to the right side. He's going to have to throw it away as he's been chased. Nice job by Jake Brownlee there.
And they had the matchup they wanted. They were looking for number 24, Jack Bush, one-on-one with Cayman Hayes. Tried to get Bush up the sideline. Cayman stayed with him nicely. Bush broke it off and then decided to take off, and Marcus McDaniel just overshot him.
The freshman Jake Jasic will punt. Second punt of the day for the Churchmen. 35.9 seconds to go in the quarter. 7-0 lead for the Friars on a 40-yard touchdown pass to Hussey. Here's Lonnie White. Got a couple of blocks. That might be a block in the back. I think with 2 flags, you're pretty much assured of that as he takes it to the 44.
2 flags, 3 flags, 4 flags. Yeah. I don't think there's any question on that one. Whew.
This will be the second penalty on Malvern Prep today. 3rd penalty, actually. They had a holding call on offense, and then they had an encroachment call as well.
And credit to you, partner, because you called that one before the flags were even
it's
on the field.
It's really not that hard, Mike. I think that was obvious. That tells you how obvious that play was that I was able to get it. 25.1 seconds to go in the first. 7-0 Malvern Prep. And the Friars are going to have to back things up a little bit. So we talked about Coach David Guerrero having a nephew, and the Episcopal players, talking to the media, they know what's at stake here. The Malvern players very excited for this matchup. As we mentioned, a possible first-place spot in the Interac on the line. Germantown Academy, another team. It's a little early to tell. We're looking at overall records now, only the second game of the conference season, but very important game for this Malvern team, not only to stay undefeated, but again, if you want to win the conference, you want to defend that title, these are one of the teams that you have to get through, of course.
Oh, absolutely, and it's interesting because there's other conferences and leagues around the state where
as that one is caught by Iacone, who's trying to make some moves. That didn't want to interrupt your point there,
no,
Mike.
Okay. I kind of wanted to hold the thought
okay.
because it was a nice move by Iacone there, but other leagues and conferences around the area and the state, teams may play 1 or 2 non-league games before they get into the heart of their league schedule. And here with the Interact, you may play 4 or 5 non-league games before you get into your Interact schedule. So your point is valid. You do have to look at the overall schedule and the common opponents, quality of opponents, before you can really make an assessment.
After 1 quarter of play, the Malvern Prep Friars lead the Churchmen as you are watching SFBN's presentation of Malvern Prep football.
Welcome to Granite Run Buick GMC. Here's what some of our customers have to say.
It's more of a family atmosphere here.
Thank you, Granite Run.
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 If you're in the market for a new car or truck, do what I did. Go see my friend Ryan Irish and his team at Granite Run Buick GMC. These guys are the best.
And that's why we welcome you to Granite Run.
Visit us in person or online at graniterun.com.
Getting set for second quarter action between the Friars and the Churchmen. 7-0 Malvern Prep in the lead as they flip the fields. Malvern has owned the all-time series against Episcopal, 48-17-3. The record for the Friars all-time. The second down and short after the catch by Icone to end the quarter. Gunther will hand it off. And here goes Watson plowing ahead to the 35-yard line for another Malvern Prep first down. 7 first downs today for the Friars.
Oh, and Kevin, going back to that point that we were discussing prior to the break, you look at the fact that Malvern has only played one conference game so far at this point, but their non-league opponents have been such a high quality and they've been so dominant, they're actually ranked number 3 in the state of Pennsylvania by Max Preps.
On the RPO, will take the pass route down, looking for White again, and just overshot him. Very similar to that play down the left side earlier in the first quarter.
Along the same lines, Kevin, take nothing away from the Churchmen. At 5-1 and 1-0 in the Interact, they're currently in the top 60 in Pennsylvania as well. So, tight first quarter, expect nothing less the rest of the way.
Both teams had pretty decent non-league schedules this season. Had some tight games in the past between these two squads, including a field goal winning it last time that they played at Malvern for the Friars. Iacone again with the reception bumped out of bounds past the 40-yard line in the area, Malcolm Folk, and also D-Will Barley. Third down and more manageable. The third down numbers looking pretty good so far today for Malvern Prep, Mike.
Yeah, at this point they're 4 of 5, including one that was a 3rd and 16. The only one not converted was a 3rd and 10, so this one at 3rd and 6 definitely manageable.
11:27 to go in the second quarter. 7-0 Malvern Prep. Ball on the ground, and Gunther may have jumped on top of it at the 35. He did, and then was cleaned up on the play by Jack Purcell, the senior, and Dylan DiBenedito. Almost had the turnover, and 4th down and long brings up a punt situation.
Kevin, just to continue on with the point that you were making, if you take a look at Episcopal's schedule, we're talking at St. Mary's of Maryland, at Lawrenceville, New Jersey, home against the Avalon School of Maryland, at the Hill School, home against Salisanium, Delaware, before getting into their Interact schedule.
And this will take a nice Malvern bounce and be eventually downed inside the 20 at the 19. Good punt by Costantini, who had a very big punt last week against Penn Charters. It was an early lead, and Penn Charter almost brought things back, almost took the momentum back as Malvern was up 20-0, led 29-10 at half. Penn Charter pushed it to 29-17. Malvern stalled on a drive, and then Costantini nailed a punt inside the 2-yard line, which Keith McGuire followed up with a safety, and then from there, Malvern took over and rode the wave to a big victory.
Now, the floodgates were essentially open at that point.
10:35 to play in the first half. Still a 7-0 lead. The Gunther pass to Hussey, the only touchdown of the game. Play action going to the right side, and that one's tipped and incomplete. They were looking for Malcolm Folk again. Coming in, averaging 10 yards per catch was Folk.
2nd and 10.
And you mentioned a lot of high percentage passes, and Marcus Mcdaniel completing 61% on the season. Coming in, he had thrown it 90 times. And you got to account for his runs as well, but when they throw it, they try to throw it so that it's not going to be an interception to only where their guy can get it on a short completion.
And you and I have talked before about it. At this level, the magic number that you're looking for is 60%. If you can hit 60% completions at this level, you are most definitely a skilled quarterback, and certainly Mcdaniel is at that level.
Calling signals is Mcdaniel. He'll fake the run again. He's going to roll to the left side. He'll loop the pass over, and incomplete, looking for Folk again. Nice job on the coverage for Malvern by Michael Hussey. Secondary is pretty rough for the Friars, led by Taji Leach, that free safety back there in that stacked defense.
And a nice job by Hussey at linebacker, getting out into the flat, taking that short pass away and doing a real nice job forcing Folk to have to try to turn upfield and making the throw for Mcdaniel that much tougher.
Coach Dave Carrera very impressed with his speed on the field, and Hussey had an interception return for a touchdown against Avon Grove as well. 3rd down and 10 for the Churchmen, trailing 7-0 in this second quarter. McDaniel going to try to make things happen, bounces off the tackle and gets a first down, and after a gain of 12, got spun away by Cade Zostic, and a good job of getting across the sticks by McDaniel. And McDaniel averaging 6 yards a carry.
And he just wasn't going to be denied on that one. Once he got through to the second level, he saw where the sticks were. A couple of Malvern Prep defenders there, and he just put his head down, and he wanted it more. That being the first third down conversion of the day for the Churchmen.
3 first downs for Episcopal Academy. 9:53 left in the second quarter, 7-0 Malvern. And the handoff going off the right side across the 40-yard line, and Barley will not be denied. He's averaging around 8 yards a pop, 7 touchdowns. That's first on the team. We mentioned his scoring prowess last season. Villanova getting a nice player. We always seem to say that here with these Malvern matchups. That's how tough their schedule can be.
An interesting design there. It was a bit of misdirection where it looked like the play may have been designed for the quarterback, Marcus McDaniel, to keep it himself, but it looked like he saw a hole for the running back, handed it off to Barley, and Barley gets 9.5 on the play.
Coach Fairley said last week was the first time they said, oh, look, Dewell, he's back for sure. Again, we mentioned that injury he had been dealing with early in the season. Another first down. McDaniel kept it that time, took it to the 44-yard line. So 2 first downs after a couple of incomplete passes started this drive, and Episcopal has play number 6 with 9 minutes to go in the half. Trying to get into Malvern territory for the first time this afternoon on homecoming weekend for the Friars. Play action going to be kept by McDaniel, but read well by the defensive front of Malvern Prep, and they'll give him 1 to the 45, will the officials.
Yeah, it looked like Coach Carrera had a run blitz called there and used all 11 guys on his side of the ball and basically filled every gap, and McDaniel was only able to pick up about a half a yard.
Yeah, it was Harry Stinger on the tackle, one of those tough guys who plays 2 ways. Coach Carrera had a lot to say about his weight room work. After the season was over, he knew he was going to have to play 2 ways. Looking forward to it and got himself ready, did Stinger, the senior out of Malvern. Second down and 9 for Episcopal Academy. And on the misdirection, they will run it with Jack Bush, and the senior is upended at midfield by Harry Stinger. Into Malvern territory, they give him the Friar 49. The third down for the Malvern defense.
And as you said, Kevin, a little misdirection, reverse action there to Jack Bush, and the senior took it around the right side, picked up 7, leaving it a very manageable 3rd and 3.
Slowly approaching the midway point of the second quarter. Episcopal Academy trailing Malvern 7-0. Both teams 1-0 in the interact. McGuire showing blitz. He's coming. McDaniel has to get it away. He does. Wide open receiver in the middle of the field. Taji Leach will make the tackle, but not before getting it all the way to the 26-yard line. Nice job by McDaniel to complete the pass
Looked
to
like Sean
Appanil. Yes, the junior.
The junior tight end, and great play design by Episcopal Academy. They basically took all of their outside receivers and just ran them as far down the field as they could. Took the entire Malvern Prep secondary with them, and Appanil kind of snuck out into the flat late, caught the ball with a lot of running room.
They'll go right back to the air, will the Churchmen, and will they give it to him? They will. Complete to the 11-yard line. Nice job going right back to work, trying to catch Malvern off guard by McDaniel.
And that's a great catch, given that the ball was tipped. Looked like he was going to catch it in stride. It was tipped, and he essentially had to slam on the brakes and fall backward to haul it in, and he did seconds before that ball hit the ground.
So Appanil, his first couple receptions of the season, have come at a very good time. 6:40 remaining in the second quarter. Episcopal looking to tie things up, down 7-0. Man in motion, left to right, and the handoff going off right guard, and stopped for no gain. It was Barley. Carrera making the stop.
Kevin, it looks like with the back-to-back passes to Apeniel that the Episcopal Academy coaching staff is learning rather quickly that they may not be able to outrun the Malvern Prep secondary, but they may be able to outsize them. Apeniel at a whopping 6'4".
We've seen other teams try to take advantage of that as well. LaSalle on the first play of the game when these two teams met earlier in the season. Now an outside run, left side, Jack Bush. He's not going to get anywhere past the line of scrimmage. Good job of staying with the keys for Malvern Prep.
Great pursuit by Carrera on that one.
Third down and 9 for the Churchmen. 5:28 to play in the first half.
And they're 2 for 4 on third down, but the 2 that they've completed, or converted I should say, have been the last 2, so they're hot.
Jack Bush has said, we know we haven't strung together 4 complete quarters. We've come out slow in a lot of games. This is a game that cannot afford to come out slow in, trying to put some points on the board. Mcdaniel being chased, heading toward the sticks. He's spun down, and did he fall in? Touchdown! Marcus Mcdaniel, 11 yards, and Episcopal is 1 point away from tying the score in this second quarter.
And Mcdaniel dropped back to pass. He looked to the right. There was nothing there. He looked to the left, and there was no one there. Sprinted out to the left side, was met at the goal line by Keith McGuire, and it looked like they kind of got wrapped up and spun, and as they were spinning, Mcdaniel just went down and broke the plane.
5 first downs on that drive for the Churchmen. We've got a flag before the PAT is attempted by Max Pasternak.
Max Pasternak, not your prototypical kicker. He also plays offensive line and defensive line, goes 5'10", 220 pounds.
He has made 18 points after this season, has Pasternak. This is a big one to tie it up with 4:59 left in the first half. And the kick is good, so we're all square at the Pellegrini Athletic Complex. 11-yard touchdown run by Marcus Mcdaniel caps off a 12-play, 81-yard drive in what took about 5 minutes off the clock for the Churchmen. Good way to start the second quarter, much like they exploded last week out of the gates for 3 straight touchdowns in the third in their victory over Springside Chestnut Hill.
Kevin, the thing that's standing out to me right now is just the fact that as I look to our right here at the scoreboard here at Quigley Field in the Pellegrini Athletic Complex, there is a tick under 5 minutes to go in the first half. We're used to seeing halves, specifically here at Quigley Field, that have taken a lot longer, a lot of aerial attack by both teams, and today we're seeing both teams grind it out on the ground. The clock is running, and it's essentially shortening the game, if you will.
Malvern averaging 37 points a game. Episcopal Academy 24. That'll lead to a lot of clock stoppages when you're scoring that much. So both teams have had to adapt to the strategies that they've been presented. Football falls off the tee, so they'll have to set it up again to kick. Lonnie White and D'Angelo Stocker back to receive for the Friars. It'll be Nick Bates, the junior, to kick off again. Malvern scored on their first drive of the game, 11 plays, 76 yards. Gunther to Hussey, and Episcopal has just tied it up. It's bobbled there, picked up for Malvern by William Carlini. And Carlini's got some space as he's knocked out of bounds on a big hit by Nick Bates, but a good return by Billy Carlini there out across the 35-yard line.
Yeah, the senior lacrosse player picked it up, took it up the left sideline, and delivered a hit himself before the end of that play, and takes what looked to be a very good directional kickoff back about 20 yards.
I think the PA guy, Mr. Iacone, said something like, whoever said lacrosse players couldn't play football. He might be a little biased there. And Gunther will be calling signals. We'll see if they go back to the air. It'll be a handoff to Quincy Watson, trying to work outside, and he won't get anywhere. Carter Strid, the senior, who did a great job on the offensive line last week in the victory, made the tackle.
And Strid at 6'2", very long reach, just got those arms out onto Quincy, and Quincy couldn't shake free.
4:40 to play in the second quarter. 7-7. Each team has scored in the first and in the second, respectively. It was Gunther to Hussey on the first drive of the first quarter, and then Marcus Mcdaniel ran it in on Episcopal's first drive of quarter two. And they'll mark off a 15-yard penalty here to the 47-yard line. Is that a face mask?
I did not actually see the flag, nor did I see the call.
Oh, I guess Malvern will take it. First down via the penalty into the 47.
I mean, I think we could assume it's either some sort of face mask or unnecessary roughness, but I did not see the flag.
8th first down of the game for the Friars. First down and 10. Watson hopping his way around. And a great job of getting inside the 40-yard line where he's upended by Strid. Another long run for Quincy Watson.
And I like how you said that as he took the handoff, hopping his way around, because it's exactly what he did. Again, we saw it earlier, and we saw it again here. It was a hop to the right, a hop to the left, plant that left foot in the turf, and get up the field.
Gain of 15 for Watson. One of the top receivers last year for Malvern Prep. He had no problem stepping in to replace a guy like O'Shawn Allison, who departed for Ohio U. Putting his head down now is Watson, rumbling through a couple of tacklers, fighting his way toward the 30-yard line. He's down at the 29. And both Drew Gunther and Coach Carrera have said that Watson is almost his own brand of thunder and lightning. You don't necessarily need that other bruiser back to complement him because he can run inside and outside, which really helps you out as a quarterback.
Interesting, and we saw there that, not only does he have the speed, but he ran through 2 tackles, and it took 3 guys on the Episcopal defense to bring him down.
3:31 left in the second quarter, tied up at 7. Toss play to Watson, trying to follow his blockers, shakes through 1 tackle, and then he is spun forward on the play by Billy Adams. They give him the 30-yard line.
It looked like Jack Purcell made the initial contact, and Billy Adams cleaned it up, but again, 3rd and short for Malvern Prep, and it's manageable 3rd downs is what Coach loves to see.
Watson to the left of Gunther here. Handoff going to Watson. Watson in space, and he's wrestled down at the 12 or the 17-yard line. Nice blocking by the O-line up front on that left side, of course. And Brendan Flynn up the middle. He's the center. We don't mention his name a lot. Did a wonderful job there to open the hole.
And Kevin, the 5th 3rd down conversion for the Friars here in the first half.
Quincy Watson said you could drive a bus through the holes that the offensive line were creating against Penn Charter last week on his 3-touchdown day. That time, though, good job by cleaning up the hole for the Episcopal Academy Churchmen. Brandon Cox coming in and a couple of other players in white jerseys. Second down and 10. Watson transferred to Malvern after starting high school at Norristown, where he played freshman ball. He had originally committed to Holy Cross, but switched gears. He decided to pledge to Delaware, where his father Rowan played linebacker. And as we mentioned, only appeared in 2 of the team's first 6 games because of that 5th-year senior rule in terms of playing against PIAA opponents and not being allowed to do so.
Interesting, though, that he decommitted from Holy Cross and has committed to Delaware. I'd like to keep that in the family. And, we understand that his father was a very well-respected linebacker there for the Blue Hens, and certainly Quincy looking to follow in his footsteps next year.
Yeah, and the understanding was that he could go where his family could see him play a little more and be closer to home.
And certainly University of Delaware, just about an hour drive from here, so easy ride for the Watson family.
2:01 to go in the second, 7-all. Second down and long for Malvern Prep. Run for Nick Carrera this time, his first carry of the day. And he takes it inside the 15-yard line, where he's stopped by Di Benedito. 3rd down and about 5. And Carrera, a nice 1-2 punch if Malvern wanted to use it, averaging 7 yards a carry on now 43 carries this season, and was the leading rusher in Watson's absence. Had 5 touchdowns on the year up to this point.
And essentially every game that Quincey has not been able to play, most times Carrera has been the one toting the load.
And on a crucial 3rd down play, it looks like we're going to have a stoppage with 1:23 left in the half. Episcopal defense is going to take the timeout. They will have 2 remaining. 7-all is your score on SFBN today. Kevin Foninger, Mike Mataraki, and Frankie Stokes will have a halftime interview with Coach David Carrera. The 7-0 Malvern Prep Friars today against the 5-1 Episcopal Academy Churchmen. Game brought to you by Granite Run Buick GMC. This has been a nice drive, Mike. Play number 7 is upcoming of it. Started with 4:50 to go in the quarter. And as you mentioned, it's been very interesting because both teams have been fairly balanced and a good job of working in the run for Malvern Prep. Quincy's first game this season was a tough one against McDonough. He got a ton of carries but only averaged 3 yards per carry. And then the game against Petit was interesting because he was bottled up for most of the night, and then he went on a large run that set up the game-winning score. You got to be careful, especially on those outside runs, because once he gets into space, he could be gone.
Oh, it was interesting, too, because we see most of the time that he gets the ball, it's out of the pistol formation. And that game against Petit, Coach Carrera made the adjustment to put Gunther under center, which allowed Quincey to have a better look at the defense, and he went off later in that 4th quarter.
Watson has to get around the edge here. He cannot, though. Jack Bush cut off the angle, the senior. The clock will roll likely inside 1 minute here on the 4th down setup.
We'll see where they mark it. It looked like Quincey had gotten closer to the sticks, at least from our vantage point, but perhaps stepped on the sideline and only winds up with a gain of 1.
Malvern's going to have to think about this. At least the indication is they'll have a chance to do so on the timeout. 52.8 seconds left in the first half. 7-7 your score.
And Kevin, I think one of the reasons that they want to give it a little additional thought here is typically what we've seen out of Malvern Prep at home this year is if they win the toss, they defer and they put their defense on the field. Today they won the toss and they took the ball. So Episcopal Academy is going to have the ball first in the second half with a tick under 53 seconds left here in the first half. I don't think Malvern wants to come out of this without points, and I'm thinking that rather than going for the 4th and 5, we may in fact see a field goal attempt.
Well, Costantini hit a 33-yarder against Penn Charter. Certainly got that leg. Coach Carrera said that they'd be comfortable with him from 40-45 as Boyle will hold this one down. It'll be a 29-yard field goal.
He is kicking with the wind, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Hold is down, the kick is up, and
plenty of leg.
It's good. 48 seconds left in the quarter, and the Friars back on top, 10-7.
Kevin, that one looked like it may have been good from about 40 to 45. He really got into that one.
Well, what Coach told us was, in a game of inches here, game of yards, centimeters, 40-45, we're good with them. Maybe we'll try 50 if we have to win a game. That's what Coach told us at the beginning of the season. So very comfortable with Costantini. And as you mentioned, I think who gets the ball first in the second half may have come into the play with that decision. But as we saw in the Petit game, it's nice to have a reliable field goal kicker because the Falcons did not, and it may have cost them in terms of late game situations.
Oh, no, you're 100% correct on that one. It's obviously, Malvern driving for that perfect season, but if we're being very honest about it, the fact that the Petit school did not have a skilled place kicker cost them 6 points probably in that game between point after touchdowns and short field goals that they could have attempted, and it may very well have been a different story coming out of there. So certainly, the Costantini advantage, if you will, is absolutely something that's going to work in Malvern Prep's favor almost every game.
Took a helmet to his shin on his plant foot to start the season, had a bruised shin, so Malvern missed Costantini in his leg and was able to come back and looks pretty strong. Again, trying to field those D1 offers as he puts his leg into this one and kicks it into the end zone for another touchback with 48 seconds to play in the half. 8 plays, 68 yards in 4 minutes for Malvern Prep there, ending on that 29-yarder by Costantini.
So, Kevin, I have to feel that if Malvern Prep was going to be getting the ball coming out of halftime, I think you may very well have seen Coach Carrera go for that 4th down there and try to keep the drive going. But knowing that Episcopal was going to have the ball first in the second half, it was crucial to get those 3 points and take a lead going into halftime. But let's not put the cart before the horse. 48 seconds, they do need to stop here.
Pistol set for the Churchmen. Mcdaniel's going to keep it, going right side. Being chased by Hussey. He's going to have to go down about a yard short of the first. And Episcopal's going to have to get back to work pretty shortly here. Only 1 timeout remaining on the scoreboard, at least, for Episcopal Academy. 2nd and 1. And Arana up the middle and slung down on the play was Barley. Good job on the tackle by John Turley, and right back to the line after the first down.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to try to just get across midfield and then possibly use their timeout.
Rumbling as Barley, and Leach finishes him off at the 49-yard line. Chains continue to move. 14 seconds left in the second quarter.
Remember, the clock stops while the chains move on a first down.
And they'll clock it. 11.2 seconds to go in the half. 10-7. Malvern Prep in front. Episcopal's offense, remember, they're coming off a long touchdown drive as well. Last time out, they went 12 plays, 81 yards for a TD. And they've showed here that they can move the ball.
They've gone 30 yards in about 30 seconds, so.
Corner's backing off a little bit here, and Leach playing center field, if you will. Now it's Mcdaniel rolling to the right side. He's got an open receiver. It's Will Kelly. The junior steps out of bounds. Smart decision by him at the 45 of Malvern.
5.4 seconds left here. I think we're going to have a chance to see just how strong Marcus McDaniel's arm is.
It was the second reception of the season for Kelly after the 6-yard gain. It's 3rd down and 4. 5.4 seconds left in the half.
See if they take a shot at the end zone here.
Daniel will drop back. Rolling left side, directing traffic. Being chased by Turley. He's going to put all of his momentum into it. And Keith McGuire with the interception at the 10-yard line. McGuire storming down the field. Picks up a couple of blockers. Has the stiff arm out. And he's knocked down at the 35, and that's going to do it for the first half of play after the 4th interception of the season by Keith McGuire on the long throw. Malvern Prep in front, 10-7 after 2 quarters of play. Stay tuned. We'll have some halftime reactions. We'll have our halftime interview with Coach David Carrera as well. Again, your Malvern Prep Friars trying to stay undefeated, and they are on their way, leading by 3 at halftime. Thanks for watching this presentation of Malvern Prep football on SFBN.
Welcome to Granite Run Buick GMC. Here's what some of our customers have to say.
It's more of a family atmosphere here.
Thank you, Granite Run.
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 If you're in the market for a new car or truck, do what I did. Go see my friend Ryan Irish and his team at Granite Run Buick GMC. These guys are the best.
And that's why we welcome you to Granite Run.
Visit us in person or online at graniterun.com.
Welcome back to Malvern. Still at halftime, getting set for the start of the second half between the Friars and the Churchmen. 10-7, Malvern Prep in front. You may have seen going on at the halftime break the Hall of Fame ceremonies on Homecoming and Alumni Weekend, as Malvern Prep inducted 4 men into their Hall of Fame this season. Doug Borgerson, the class of 96, a 3-sport star. Chuck Chinisi, an AD and coach from 78 to 90. Hunter Jones, the class of 92, football, wrestling, and lacrosse. And Jeff Spano, class of 97, basketball and lacrosse. So congratulations to those men, as they are part of the multitude of folks who have made their way to Malvern here this afternoon for the game. And we've got our halftime conversation between Frankie Stokes and David Carrera coming up right now. Frankie, what do you have for us?
Okay, I'm here with Coach Carrera. Coach, it's homecoming weekend and alumni weekend here at Malvern today. How important is it and exciting to see some of your old players again?
Oh, it's great to see everybody come back, and we have a really big brotherhood here, and it's just good to see everyone's support.
And heading into the second half, you're leading 10-7. What are you hoping to see more of to hold them off and to extend the lead?
I just think we need to do a better job of executing all around. I think we're missing tackles defensively, and offensively we're just, we're not executing. We're not doing our job to our fullest, and I think we have to do that in the second half to win the game.
Thank you, Coach. Mike, Kevin, back to you guys.
Thank you, Frankie. All right, I'm going to ask you to put that into plain speak there, those cliche terms. Not executing. Now, in what aspects are they not executing, Mike, do you feel?
I think you hit the nail right on the head, Kevin. That's coach speak. I think coach just wants his squad to play the way that he knows his squad is capable of playing. And interestingly, I don't feel like they did anything wrong in the first half. They didn't turn the ball over. They were 6 of 8 on third down. They did allow a touchdown, but Episcopal Academy is no slouch. They do have very good skill position players. So I think in terms of the coach speak, I think coach is finding the very little things, like he said, missed tackles, giving up an extra couple of yards here, a couple of yards there by not reading your keys, staying at home, things like that. I think coach is looking for a flawless second half when he puts that challenge out to his squad.
Well, let's take a look at the scoring summary. It's going to be a very brief look. We started the game at 11-play, 76-yard drive in 4 minutes and 40 seconds, and it was Drew Gunther throwing to Michael Hussey. 40-yard touchdown at the 7:21 mark, and a great start for Malvern Prep. They have certainly gotten past that slow start issue they had earlier in the season. They went up 7-0 at that time and traded a couple of punts, and they were up 7-0 after the first quarter.
And that Hussey touchdown that you referenced, at least right now, is our leader in the clubhouse for play of the game.
And then we moved to the second quarter, and Episcopal Academy did a good job of bouncing back. They put together a 12-play, 81-yard drive, and it was Marcus Mcdaniel who ran it in with 4:59 left to 7-7 the score. And then Malvern took over, and they put together a nice drive, 8 plays, 68 yards, and Sebastian Costantini hit his second field goal of the season, a 29-yarder, and that's where we stand now, 10-7, as Keith McGuire had an interception on a long pass with Episcopal threatening at the end. And I want to mention, interceptions for the Malvern Prep defense have been quite common. 14 interceptions this season and 4 returned for touchdowns, so they can be tough to throw on out there in the secondary.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that 4 return for touchdowns, because I think to a casual viewer, they may see that Keith McGuire play at the end of the first half and say, time's expired in the first half, just knock it down. But McGuire picked it off, and he immediately started thinking, I'm going to the house. Now, he had to go about 85 yards to get there, but the thought was in his mind, because this Malvern Prep defense, whenever they get a chance at a loose ball or an interception, they're thinking 6 the other way. And, certainly the thought was in McGuire's mind there at the end of the first half.
Well, Keith McGuire going to Clemson as a linebacker, great player in that right. But, hey, he came into this game with 50 points accounted for. That's 20 more than the next highest non-quarterback. So, yeah, he's a great defender, but he can also put up a lot of points offensively. A couple of returns for touchdowns on interceptions for McGuire this season, and he was taking a majority of the load along with Nick Carrera when Quincy Watson was out in the run game perspective. Oh, wait, and he can catch, too.
I was going to say, I think between carrying the ball, catching the ball, and returning interceptions, he's most definitely got a nose for the end zone.
So Costantini, a couple of touchbacks today, not that time, fielded by Jack Bush. And good kick coverage for the Friars. The ball pops up in the air at the 6-yard line, and we'll wait for a call.
Looked like
nice job by Bush.
Looked like Bush may have recovered his own fumble, but interesting. You had just mentioned Costantini normally kicking balls through and out of the end zone. That one drove Bush back to about the 1 or 2 yard line, but it was so high that it allowed the coverage to get down there. Bush started running side to side. Malvern had him pinned inside of the 10-yard line, and then, oops, ball's out. And if Malvern would have come up with that pun right there, then they clearly would have been in the driver's seat.
Ethan Hennessy, good job being first there for the tackle as well. So worst starting field position for the Churchmen by far today. See how they deal with it as they will run it. Nice strong run for a first down by Matt Bush, the junior, who averages 6 yards a carry. And right back to work. Episcopal was moving the ball pretty well in that 2-minute drill before that interception at the end of the first half.
And I almost wonder if they won't go back to maybe a little slower variation of that sort of no-huddle offense, because as you said, they were moving the ball so effectively doing that.
Mcdaniel will fake the play action. That one's tipped at the line and incomplete. Joseph Carpenter, great job of getting his body in front of that and batting it down.
Yeah, great job by Carpenter there to bat it down. And interestingly, Mcdaniel tried to dive and catch that batted ball himself, was looking for a little Mcdaniel to Mcdaniel there, and don't know that that would have been the wisest move, because he likely would have lost yardage had he caught the ball.
It's an Episcopal Academy team this season, averaging 236 yards per game on the ground. Again, Barley, the running back, accounted for 54% of their scoring last year. But again, Mcdaniel able to do some things through the air as well, as we've seen to Appaneel a couple of times. This time he's going to keep it on the ground. Another first down for the Churchmen, and he spins out across the 40-yard line. Taji Leach in the vicinity as he gets bumped down out of bounds. Second first down on the third play of this half for the Churchmen.
And a great job by Mcdaniel navigating the left side of the Malvern Prep defense. He picked up a few blocks and just sort of kept working his way up the field towards the sideline, up the field towards the sideline, up the field towards the sideline, until he ran out of real estate. But huge gain on the play for the quarterback.
Closing in on 10 first downs are the Churchmen after the 20-plus yard gain by Mcdaniel. First down and 10 from the 45, 11:05 to go in the third. Episcopal Academy trailing by 3. Hand off left side for a couple. And a good job by that front line of Malvern Prep, forcing Barley back. Nick Carrera got through. We've seen that a couple of times on the rundowns today.
And they're doing a great job on Barley, no question about that. The defense is really keyed on him, and they're doing an excellent job shutting him down. Where the Malvern Prep defense has gotten hurt has been by Mcdaniel, by Bush, by Adams, by Folk, some of the guys that you perhaps don't expect to be as dangerous or as damaging.
Play action looking for Kelly, and incomplete, trying to split the two defenders in Leach and Bachrach. Third down.
And he had him. Kelly was open running up the seam, and looked like Mcdaniel double clutched on that, and by the time he got it out, it was a little wild high.
We've seen a couple of long outside throws in this game from both quarterbacks, actually. Gunther almost had White a couple of times in the first and second quarters. The longest passes have come up the middle in this game. And again, Appaneel, his first couple of receptions of the season in the second quarter on that touchdown drive for the Episcopal Academy. Third down, Mcdaniel. And it's out, incomplete. They were looking for Barley again, and Keith McGuire, as well as Taji Leach, were in there defending. So Malvern comes up strong on third down, and that's been a key so far today.
Why am I not surprised that the two names that you called out on that were McGuire and Leach? It seems like anytime there is a pass thrown against Malvern Prep, it's either McGuire or Leach with a big hit, an interception, a broken up pass, something of that nature.
That's a low punt off the foot of Jake Jasic, and out of bounds. Decent field position for the Friars to start things off from the 33. Mark it back at the 30, actually, and so we'll see Drew Gunther get back to work. Apparently not executing is scoring 2 long drives with a touchdown and then a field goal. So we'll see what that means for second half adjustments for Drew Gunther and company.
I love Coach. I do. I absolutely love him. But the Friars withstood that first 150 of the third quarter without the ball, and I think now they're right where they want to be with the ball in the lead.
Just about 10 minutes to go in the third. Hand off to Quincy Watson, has some room, and he's ripped down at the 39 by Billy Adams, the sophomore. The offensive line's doing a wonderful job up front. Brendan Flynn, a lot of that in the middle. And then you've got Jake Hornibrook on the outside, big 75, as you see on the near side, left tackle. Going to Stanford. I never feel like we say those guys' names enough. And Will Redden as well, 6'6", 295. As big as they are, you feel like you would say their names more. Guys really improved, came in raw on film, according to Coach Carrera, and not raw anymore. Used his size well, very powerful. As they go to Keith McGuire here. McGuire's got it over the top of the defense, has to break a tackle, and he does. Goodbye, Keith McGuire. The touchdown for the Malvern Prep Friars.
62 yards.
His third touchdown reception of the season, and that's the longest one by far.
Oh, it's interesting, Kevin. You're talking about that offensive line, and the thing about offensive linemen is you typically don't hear about them unless they're not doing their job. That time, Drew Gunther, plenty of time, puts the ball on the dime into McGuire's hands. McGuire breaks a tackle, and off he goes. 62 yards to pay dirt.
2 plays, 70 yards, about 50 seconds. Wasn't bad.
I think that's what Coach meant.
I guess that's execution, Mike, as Costantini try to execute the PAT, and he does just that. 9:26 to go in the third quarter, and Malvern Prep in the lead by 10.
Now, we joke about it, but the first play of the possession here for Malvern Prep was Quincy Watson for 8 yards, and I was about to say to you, as you're talking about the offensive line, I've almost lost track so far of how many times today you've said Watson for 8, Watson for 9, Watson for 12. And many times the hopping and the dancing has been replaced by him just putting his head down and following that offensive line. And I think right here on this drive, as short as it was, you had the offensive lineman blowing the Episcopal defense off the ball for a 9-yard run and then giving Drew Gunther all the time in the world to complete a pass downfield to McGuire. Excellent job by those men up front.
Costantini's going to kick it away. Folk and Bush back to receive for the Churchmen. 9:26 to play in the third. Malvern has not trailed in this game. It's been tied once. It was tied at the beginning of the second quarter on a nice drive by the Churchmen, capped off by Marcus McDaniel and a touchdown run. But that was the type of play that Malvern had been going to a couple of times on that long pass and a great throw by Drew Gunther. Another touchback by Seb Costantini. Gunther, it's got to be a luxury to have him calling signals, a guy who took over midway through his sophomore year, had offers from Brown, Fordham, and Georgetown coming in, Albany as well, and then Virginia Tech enters the picture, maybe preferred walk-on status, and he continues to let his playing do the talking. And as we mentioned before, 11 straight games with a touchdown pass. Experienced guy, and with a quick strike offense like Malvern, that's an asset to have.
No question about it. And you have to assume that as this season goes on, and should Malvern Prep come out on the winning end of this, the record gets better, the ranking gets better, and more attention is drawn to this program.
As the ball is bobbled off the snap, and Malvern looks like they fell on it.
Looked like Christian Bachrath got his nose in there and may very well have come out with that, Kevin.
Friar football. That's a big one for Episcopal to turn it over in that spot as well. Cayman Hayes was in there as well. You talked about Bachrath, and between the force and the recovery, those two combined, really a poor snap on the play. And it was a nice attempt. but Mcdaniel unable to come up with it. So Backrath, it seems like every week we call a different name, comes up with a big play. We've called Tinson before with special teams plays a couple weeks ago, and there's Backrath again setting the offense up after they just scored on a 2-play drive.
Yeah, and they have the ball now at the, appears to be about the 13-yard line. Gotta wonder how long this is going to take.
We're about to find out. 9:16 left in the quarter. Gunther going to drop back. He's going to float it to the far side. Flag thrown.
Looked like he was looking for Ryan McGuire on that one, and have to assume this is going to be pass interference.
I'm just going to wait. I don't assume things there, Mike.
I think this one is about as obvious as the one that you had down here earlier.
So there you go. There's the call. And McGuire was out of bounds on the play, interfered with, couldn't come up with the catch. So that's not going to help Episcopal Academy's cause, but I guess you could say good penalty because
Looks like
it prevents the touchdown for the time being.
it'll be half the distance and an automatic first down.
So from the 6, and Gunther keeping it himself on the RPO. He stopped at the line of scrimmage, brings up second down, and Malvern can get a first down before getting that touchdown. 8:58 and counting to go in the third.
And I have to wonder if that's actually a design keeper just to keep that defensive end honest, to allow for a little more running room for Quincy Watson and the other running backs in the Malvern backfield. Because really no reason for Drew to keep that other than to maybe try to sneak past that defensive end.
Gunther has thrown for 2 touchdowns today. This time he hands off. Watson trying to find some room and cannot, met by a sea of white there. Maybe got one back to the 6. Sets up third down. So credit to Episcopal Academy. They turn it over, and they're holding strong here so far. Big third down opportunity upcoming for the Friars.
Play 3rd and 5.
It was 10-7 at halftime. Malvern in the lead, and then Friars had a quick strike, 2-play, 70-yard drive on a long touchdown pass to Keith McGuire to go up 17-7, and then just a few seconds later able to force a fumble on a bad snap, and that's how they're in this position at the moment. 3rd down and 5, 7:50 left in the third. Pitch play, bobbled by Watson. Gunther tries to get it, and it's scooped up.
There's whistles.
We did have a whistle. I thought I heard a whistle here. Episcopal Academy sideline, understandably, is frustrated. You heard a whistle, right?
I heard multiple whistles, and I do believe that they should not have been blown.
And it was Jake Phelan who was trying to pick it up and get a hold of the football and take it to the house. So now the coaching staff's going to have to get an explanation from the officials. Another point I want to bring up is a lot of times fundamentally, and it's easy to say this because a lot of players want the spotlight, but sometimes it's best to just fall on the football in terms of running and trying to pick it up.
Agreed.
As we saw as Phelan dropped it there. I can't blame him for wanting to get the 6 points.
Kevin, I have all kinds of questions about this. I mean, first off, I'm looking at the sticks, and with the pass interference on first down, the penalty was half the distance, which then put the ball at the 7-yard line. At that point, it should have been 1st and goal, but for some reason it appears that it was 1st and 5. From there, Malvern runs a couple plays. They get into that position now where it's 3rd down. Well, it's announced as 3rd and 5 as opposed to 3rd and goal, which, again, questions. The toss, not a particularly good toss by Gunther to Quincy Watson. Quincy's unable to cover it. Gunther's unable to cover it. The Episcopal Academy defender picks it up. As he picks it up, whistles start to blow. He's running down the field with it. He fumbles it as well. And at the end of the whole thing, Ryan Iacone has the ball and is circling back towards the Malvern Prep sideline with officials huddling to try to figure out exactly what the heck happened there.
Well, it seems like the officials have done their explaining, and they will give the football to EA.
And that is the right call.
Because
there's
Gunther
no
clearly
question.
didn't have it, and they blew the whistle when Phelan picked the ball up.
Yeah, and that's very obviously the right call. I mean, it is a at least as far as you and I are concerned, a very clear fumble recovery by Episcopal Academy, and they dodged a bullet there. No
I wonder
question.
if he had a body part down when he picked it up. It didn't seem like it.
Did not seem
glance.
like it.
So it'll be 1st and 10. We just talked about the turnover on the Episcopal side, and now Malvern Prep turns it over, and Coach Dave Carrera said we have to eliminate mistakes. He will not be happy with that, as they had an opportunity to score up 10. So the Churchmen very fortunate here. Can they capitalize? They're going to have to go quite a long ways. Mcdaniel being chased out of the pocket. Open receiver. And continuing on past the 30-yard line and then some is Joe Graham, the sophomore, with his 2nd reception of the season, and a big one at that. 20-yard variety is Leach and Zostic pushing him out of bounds.
And Graham goes 6'2", 195. You and I talked earlier about the fact that they weren't beating Malvern Prep with speed, so they were going to size, and another big receiver finds some space in the secondary, and Episcopal Academy in business approaching midfield.
3rd first down of the half for the Churchmen. 7:16 to go in the 3rd quarter. Episcopal Academy trailing by 10. Another bobbled snap, and Malvern Prep is all over that, wrapping up underneath Joseph Carpenter. A couple other blue shirts jumping in after a loss of a few.
By number 36, Joe Carpenter.
So we had a fumble recovered by Christian Bachrath, and then a couple moments later, another fumble on a pitch to Quincey Watson. So switching the fields, and Episcopal now an opportunity here, but they're going to have to work with 2nd and long.
And Kevin, not to alarm any of our Malvern Prep faithful, but something to keep an eye on. It looked like Drew Gunther, after that turnover, came off the field and was meeting with one of the trainers and doing some sprints up and down the sideline, trying to maybe work out a little bit of a tweaked leg there on the pile up on the turnover. Seems to be okay now, but maybe something to keep an eye on.
D. Barley set up a 3rd down and about 5 as he took it to the 44-yard line there on that strong carry. It's the time of the game where we check the 3rd down statistics.
Episcopal currently 3 of 7. The 3 were 3 in a row in the 2nd quarter. The 6th one was the interception at the end of the 1st half. 0 for 1 here in the 2nd half.
Mcdaniel, straight drop, quickly gets it out, and Barley still fighting for yardage, but he's wrapped up at the original line of scrimmage. Good wrap-up tackle there for Malvern Prep. Damir Brown was in there, and also credit to Harry Stinger for fighting his way through to set up 4th down.
4th and 4.
So Lonnie White's going to trot out to receive a possible punt with 5:44 to go in the 3rd quarter and a 10-point Malvern lead. So you turn the ball over and your defense comes up pretty big there.
An interesting call here. I thought that there was a chance that with the ball approaching midfield and Episcopal down 10, they may go for it there, but taking the conservative approach and punting it away.
Lonnie White has some room, nice blocks, gets around a Watson block, and he's slung down across the 45-yard line on the play by Billy Adams, the sophomore. And Adams has gotten a lot of love in the run game on offense, but boy, he's been very active defensively. He's made a number of tackles for the Churchmen.
Yeah, defense and special teams. Billy Adams, frankly, the sophomore, has been all over the field today.
And that's the thing that we mentioned, only 7 seniors coming in for Episcopal Academy, but 16 juniors, 16 sophomores, 14 freshmen on the roster. So they're not only very good this season, but looks like they will be good coming up for Coach Fairley and company.
And it's interesting because that was what we saw out of Malvern Prep last year. And now all of those underclassmen are seniors this year for Prep, and it's paying off.
Gunther back in the game, handoff now to Watson. Watson shedding a couple of tackles, and he's down into Churchman territory to the 40-yard line.
And Kevin, he dragged a defender, number
James
76.
Hookstraighten there, the sophomore.
Right, James Hookstraighten. Hookstraighten goes 252, and Quincey carried him on his back for about 4 yards. Excellent display of strength by Quincey Watson.
First down to the 41. So we saw a stalled drive for Episcopal, and then a 2-play 70-yard drive for Malvern Prep, then back-to-back fumbles. Episcopal had to punt there. Malvern, their second play, trying to finally capitalize here in the 3rd. Watson's going to get the handoff again and continues to work forward. As you mentioned before, Mike, it seems like every time 5 or 8 yards a pop. The tackle there by Dylan DiBenedetto.
And on that one, number 50, William Walsh, the 6'1", 260-pound offensive lineman for Malvern Prep, the left guard inside of Big Jake Hornibrook, got an excellent push and led the way for Quincey to get into the secondary there.
Buck Walsh out of Phoenixville, along with Jake Hornibrook on that side. This time McGuire gets the pitch. He's got to go somewhere, and he can't go anywhere that's not manned by a white shirt at that time. I don't know where he was going to get. Keith McGuire, knowing him, he was going to fight for whatever yards he could get, but that's a loss and a solid play by the Churchmen.
I just chuckle at the description because it couldn't have been more perfect. It's like you saw the wall of white coming at him and just said, he's got to go somewhere. Maybe the smart play would have been to just take a seat, live to fight another day.
3rd down and 8 now for Malvern Prep. 3:28 to go in the third quarter. 10-point lead for the Friars.
Malvern 5 of 8 so far on the day on 3rd down. This is their first opportunity in the second half.
Watson, nice block there. Gunther stepping up in the pocket, fires downfield, looking for Iacone and incomplete. Iacone wanted a flag, didn't get it. Nice coverage on the play. D-Will Barley was out there for Episcopal Academy. He also had Aiden Chavis out there, a sophomore. We've said sophomore a lot.
And I'll tell you what, Kevin. Drew Gunther had a very tight window between the two defenders to put that through, and he did. He absolutely threaded the needle, and Iacone was maybe just a step short of coming up with what could have been a spectacular catch and possibly another Malvern Prep touchdown.
Costantini has floated a punt inside the 20 today. We mentioned against Penn Charter, he knocked one at the 2 that set up a safety to capture momentum. He's also had a field goal today as Costantini. Fair catch is being called for by Chavis. And Malvern will let it bounce and roll down to the 5-yard line. And nice job by Billy Carlini, the senior, to let that one go and shepherd it away. And Carlini had a nice return on a kickoff earlier in the game as well. So credit to him. We'll set up the offense.
Making his presence known on special teams for sure today.
2:53 left in the third quarter to operate for Episcopal Academy. 17-7, Malvern Prep in front. And boy, the Churchmen started last time on the 14-yard line. So starting field position hasn't been good of late. Good job by Malvern Prep.
Now the Friars are definitely winning the field position battle, no question about that.
Of course, part of that was because Malvern Prep, you could say, fumbled when they had a chance to score inside the red zone.
Turning into a sun-splashed afternoon here at Quigley Field.
Nice day for football, around 59 degrees as Barley scampers forward. Slung down by Joseph Carpenter, the first to get to him. Gain of about 2 for Barley.
Tackle made by Nicholas Carrera. Gain of 2, 2nd and 8.
2:29 to go in the third quarter. Malvern Prep looking to remain undefeated. They had won 12 straight coming into today. Trying to defend their Interact title. This is the second week of league play. Mcdaniel rolling to the right side. He's got a receiver. It's caught by Jack Bush, the senior, and he's shepherded out of bounds nicely on the play by Michael Hussey. First down for the Churchmen.
Easy pitch and catch there for Mcdaniel and Bush, but nice job by Hussey just keeping the play in front of him and as you mentioned, ushering Bush out of bounds.
Like what Coach Fairley's doing with Mcdaniel. He's got dual threat capability, a lot of design rollouts to set up the passes for the signal caller. And he's going to keep it himself on the fake reverse action, and Cade Zostic will plaster him down at the 21-yard line for a third down and about 5 situation.
And real nice job by Keith McGuire and Cade Zostic. Like you say, reading their keys, staying at home, lane integrity, if you will, making sure that they didn't bite on that fake reverse, and they were ready for Mcdaniel.
2nd and 5, not 3rd and 5. I'm ahead of myself. They have to save me here, bail me out, get a stop to bring up 3rd down.
Once we get this incompletion, it'll be 3rd and 5, and you'll be all right.
Malvern has definitely improved on 3rd downs, of course, as the year has gone on. It'll be Mcdaniel, and he's hit in the backfield. Big hit by Nick Carrera. And Mike, we were searching for our hard hit of the game. You think that would be it?
That is most definitely a candidate, no question about it. Carrera looked like he was shot out of a cannon into the backfield and took a 2nd and 5 and turned it into a 3rd and 13.
Tonight's All-American Sporting Goods hard hit of the game for your sports equipment and apparel needs. Shop at All-American Sporting Goods, located at the corner of Cottman and Tabor in Northeast Philadelphia. For more information, call 215-342-6141. Here's that 3rd down for Episcopal. Passing down for Mcdaniel and company. He passes, and the route is jumped. Interception. Cayman Hayes. Touchdown. Malvern Prep.
You said it, partner. The route was jumped, no question about it. Hayes with a great catch and an easy stroll to the house.
What a stroll that was for Hayes, his 4th interception of the season. He said, wait a minute, I want to be on this TD party in terms of returns. Finally returns one for 6. Read that all the way. Standing there was Bush in that route. Great defense for the corner. And Malvern needed that one. 17 seconds left in the 3rd. Put a little bit more margin, breathing room between them and Episcopal.
And Mcdaniel's 2nd interception on the day. This one's certainly a lot more damaging than the one at the end of the first half.
Costantini, perfect from the PAT perspective today, remains so. 24-7, Malvern Prep, 17 seconds to go in the 3rd. 4-play drive interrupted there by about a 20-yard interception return for a touchdown for Cayman Hayes. That is the 5th interception returned for a touchdown for the Malvern defense this season. Talking about big plays to wrap up momentum, that is certainly one of them. Now you've got that 24-7 lead. And there was a situation last week against Penn Charter we talked about earlier in the broadcast where Malvern was up 20-0. Penn Charter made it 29-17, got a safety, got a big play by the defense, and then went on a scoring spree.
Oh, and you mentioned that being Hayes' 4th interception of the season. He started the season strong, had interceptions the first 2 games against Roman Catholic and LaSalle. Wasn't heard from during the McDonough game. Came back with an interception against Berks Catholic. It's been a quiet few weeks for him. The defense is maybe staying away from him a little bit. Petit, Avon Grove, Penn Charter wasn't heard from, but now he's shouting it loud and clear again.
I was going to say, unlike on the offensive side of the ball, if you're not heard from on the defensive side of the ball as a corner, sometimes that means you're doing a pretty darn good job.
It means you're doing an excellent job.
Has some trouble setting the football up on the tee so far today.
Agree with you completely there, Kevin.
Costantini's going to boot it away. 24-7, Malvern Prep in front. 17 seconds left in the 3rd. Episcopal Academy has not scored in the second half. Game was tied once about midway through the 2nd quarter. Another big kick and another touchback for Costantini and company.
Interesting point that you bring up, though, Kevin, is that if you're an opposing offense and you throw the ball quite a bit, this Malvern Prep defense, who do you target? You're not going after Hayes. You're not going after Zostic. You're not going after McGuire. You're not going after Leach. Where are you throwing the ball? I mean, it really is a daunting task to try to move the ball against Malvern Prep through the air.
We did see Petit have some success moving it over the middle. They found some gaps there, and they had some matchups that they liked. But still, even there, you've got number 4, Keith McGuire, in the middle, standing there. Mcdaniel's going to roll to the right side again. It was actually a handoff, which fooled me, so good job by them. And Barley's bottled up after a gain of about 2.
A little sleight of hand there by Mcdaniel, and it was a nifty little handoff, but again, D. Will Barley basically shut down at the line of scrimmage.
So at the end of 3, Malvern Prep leads 24-7 over the Episcopal Academy Churchmen. Thank you for joining us for today's presentation of Malvern Prep football on the Sports Fan Base Network, brought to you by Granite Run Buick GMC.
Welcome to Granite Run Buick GMC. Here's what some of our customers have to say.
There's more of a family atmosphere here.
Thank you, Granite Run.
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 If you're in the market for a new car or truck, do what I did. Go see my friend Ryan Irish and his team at Granite Run Buick GMC. These guys are the best.
And that's why we welcome you to Granite Run.
Visit us in person or online at graniterun.com.
(24-7) on a 59-degree day as the sun has come out. Started the game overcast. Nice fall day in Malvern, Pennsylvania, and the Friars are trying to make the most of it here and move to 8-0. Episcopal Academy going to have to get to work here. Got a second down and 9. And once again going up the middle. This time it was Mcdaniel who kept it, and Joseph Carpenter and Damir Brown making tackle there.
And Kevin, just taking a quick look at the Malvern Prep results here at Quigley Field this season. A 35-23 victory over LaSalle, a 42-32 victory over Berks Catholic, a hard-fought 28-25 victory over Petit, and now a 17-point margin as we enter the fourth quarter here. A lot of points scored here this year, but nothing has come easy.
Mcdaniel going long. We've got a flag on the play. They were looking for Jack Bush, the senior, on the outside, and Hayes was in there defending along with Leach. Maybe some PI there as everybody anticipating walking forward. Mcdaniel got that one there in a hurry, that's for sure. And you mentioned it before, Mike. Who do you target? It was a very tight window to work with, but fortunately for the Churchmen, they got the pass interference.
Yeah, and I think on that one, they kind of had it in their mind that Hayes beat them once and may try to get a little over-aggressive, so they went back at him, just maybe hoping to capitalize on some of that aggressiveness, and looked like he may have been beaten by a step and had a little bit of a grab as the receiver was going by.
Now Episcopal has thrown it for 124 yards per game with Mcdaniel. We wonder, do you take them out of their game, their bell cow, D-Will Barley, as Barley has a nice run here up toward midfield? And the answer to that is obviously no. If you're Episcopal, you're down 24-7. You still got 11 minutes left. You stick with what's working for them. Barley running hard for a first down there.
And that's a gain of about 12 for Barley, and that's the first time in quite a while we've seen Barley go for more than 3 or 4 yards.
Mcdaniel has an open receiver, and that is Folk. And he has the reception at the 45-yard line. I like the sense of urgency from Episcopal here, even with 10:51 to go, down a couple of scores. They almost caught Malvern napping earlier in the game on their touchdown drive by just going right back to the line and snapping it.
It seems like they get into a better flow offensively when they don't go with a full huddle, so be interesting to see what happens here.
Fifth play of the drive. It'll be a handoff, churning for the short yardage work to Barley. And it's going to be close to the spot. Being hit out of the pile is John Turley. It was actually Joe Carpenter with a stop. (10-11) left in the game, 24-7. Malvern Prep in front. Flags at the snap. It's been a while since we saw some laundry. Not. We saw a PI a couple plays ago. I'm saying that preemptively because I don't want to start seeing the penalty flags fly. It's been a pretty well-disciplined game so far.
So that's sort of like the reverse jinx there.
I don't know what it was, Mike, to be honest, but it'll be a first down and 5 for Episcopal Academy.
Hey, we're having fun. It's what we do.
Inside 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Big lead for Malvern Prep, who was up 10-7 at halftime. Mcdaniel getting some nice blocks. Jump pass and incomplete. He was looking for Matt Bush, the junior, and there are a lot of different things you can say on that play. It's a great block up front by Mcdaniel. What else you got for me?
I got
maybe not.
I had two real hard hits on that one. Marcus Mcdaniel took a shot after he delivered the ball, and Bush took a shot as he was dropping the pass. It was a lot of physicality on that play, from the block to the hit on the quarterback to the hit on the receiver. That's Interact football right there.
2nd down and 5. Malvern showing blitz, a little bit of movement on both sides. Officials will confer for a moment.
Interesting, Nick Carrera came up and basically stuck his nose in between a couple of Malvern defensive tackles, and the two receivers out to the far side of the field took that as an invitation to start their routes. One small problem, the ball hadn't been snapped yet.
And another penalty on Malvern. That is the call. And you got to like John Turley waving his arms up and down, trying to keep the crowd in it.
The only thing I can imagine them saying is that Carrera somehow got into the neutral zone on that, because...
Well, you said he stuck his nose in there.
He did, but I don't necessarily know that he came up that far, unless they're saying that it was his approaching the line of scrimmage that caused the Episcopal wide receivers to take off.
Well, Episcopal just took their 3rd first down. Guerrero staying with it, though, and a great job to force that incompletion on the play by Mcdaniel. Just had to get rid of it.
And a smart play by Mcdaniel to not take the sack or an intentional grounding and just throw that over the head of a receiver well out of bounds.
Marcus Mcdaniel came in completing 61% of his passes. Again, we mentioned the dual threat capable quarterback. Does have a rushing touchdown in this game. 11-yard touchdown on the first drive of the 2nd quarter.
And he's just a junior.
You had to say that, didn't you?
I did.
Well, for Malvern fans, they won't have to see D-Well Barley anymore unless they go to Villanova and check him out there. Barley, a very tough runner. You put up the amount of points that he did last season, run for the amount of yards you do this season, you're going to get notice at the next level. And we got a stoppage for the officials here.
It's like Coach Guerrero just wants an explanation from the referee on exactly what's happened these last couple of plays.
9:37 left, 24-7. Malvern Prep in front, trying to remain undefeated. 7-0 Friars, 1-0 in the Interact, averaging 37 points per game. We knew that they could put up points, and actually both teams have put up points lately. We were just waiting for it to come, and Malvern able to get some points from the defense as well. Cayman Hayes with an interception earlier on to make it 24-7. Drew Gunther has a couple of touchdown passes. So just another day at the office for him, as he has crept up on his total from last season in terms of passing yardage. 2nd down and 10 for Episcopal. It's Folk on the end around, and he takes it to the 25-yard line.
It looked like Harry Stinger had a shot at him in the backfield, I should say, and Folk stepped through that one and wound up turning it upfield for about 7.
Bobbled at the snap, it falls into the arms of Folk, and that goes nowhere. But very fortunate again, the Churchmen. That's 3 times that the Episcopal Academy offense has had trouble with the initial snap.
Oh, definitely has not been a clean game for the Churchmen. They've put the ball on the turf several times. 2 interceptions, including 1 return for a touchdown. It's funny, we talked about, or I should say, we heard from Coach Carrera at the beginning of the second half talking about execution for the Friars on the Malvern Prep side, but realistically, it's Episcopal that's been quite a bit more sloppy today.
That was Folk getting up on the far side of the field. The Malvern +2 in the turnover department today. That has helped them get up 24-7. You mentioned the first half. There weren't a ton of issues you could nitpick at in terms of execution. It was just a 10-7 halftime game, and now you get into the second half, you started to see some things, especially from the Churchmen side, that you could go back and look at in the film room. But still 9:03 to play in this one. 4th down upcoming for Episcopal Academy, trying to stay in it. See what the play call is.
And Kevin, we talked about the experience level. When you have as many underclassmen playing key roles as you do, if you're Episcopal, sometimes those things are to be expected.
Throw to the left side, caught by Kelly. Kelly wrestled out of bounds by Nick Carrera. And that's good for a 1st down. So first 4th down attempt of the game is good for the Churchmen. Keeps the drive alive. A long drive that has seen a couple of penalties, some from Malvern Prep. And the 9th play upcoming with 8:51 and counting to go. And they will give it to Barley. Barley running strong out across the 10-yard line. And if you run with the dose that Episcopal Academy does, these are the times of the games that you start to hope, at least, that the defense will wear down. Barley, very compact runner and very strong as well. Delivers a punishing blow there with his shoulder.
To that point, though, one thing that we know about the Malvern Prep defense is that they are very deep and they're very strong, and it's not often that you can wear them down.
Keeper by Mcdaniel, read well by Keith McGuire and Mike Hussey. 2 of the linebackers bringing up 3rd down and short for Episcopal Academy.
And they were having none of the ball fakes there.
Talk about the depth, Mike. We mentioned 22 seniors for this Malvern Prep squad. Coach Fairley said he was looking coming in. Oh, boy, they've got like 6 quality receivers, and what, only 2 of them play both ways? That's got to be nice to have as a program. And it'll be Mcdaniel, tipped at the line of scrimmage. Joe Carpenter got in there again, his 2nd tip pass of the day. 4th down.
That is going to make Episcopal 3 for 11 on 3rd down today. They are, however, 1 of 1 on 4th down.
Did you have to look at your paper for that 4th down stat when we just saw it a couple moments ago? No, I'm just kidding, Mike.
Just have my little system here, that's all.
After converting a 4th down, Episcopal will try to do it again on this series of the sticks. 7:34 to play, 24-7 Malvern. Mcdaniel, happy feet moving around. Finds an open receiver. Did he get it there? He did, but it was bobbled a little bit low on the pass and incomplete on the far side. Jack Bush was the waiting receiver for the Churchmen, and that'll turn it over on downs back to Malvern. Boy, that is tough. A play of 10-plus play drive, and you have to give it back to the Friars. Got to give them credit for standing tall on defense.
And it'll be interesting to see here, Kevin, with 7:27 left to go in the ball game here, if Coach Carrera decides to keep this on the ground and just try to grind the clock out while moving the ball down the field, or if he's not quite satisfied with the 24 on the board and aggressively takes a couple of shots.
Malvern Prep would move to 49-17-3 overall all time against Episcopal Academy with a victory here. It is Lonnie White in the backfield on the direct snap out of the Wildcat. White finding some space on the left side, and he's working against Bush, and he pushes him off as he goes out of bounds past the 35-yard line. Lonnie White's longest run of the day. The 2nd snap in the Wildcat position for the Friars. That's one way to keep it on the ground. Gain of 22 on the 1st down for Malvern Prep. And once again, it's Quincy Watson. Try to get to the 2nd level. Did a good job of getting past the linebackers. Nice blocking for the line.
A little bit of an army crawl there to pick up 6 yards.
To the 41-yard line. Also have to give credit to the line in terms of sacks. This was a Malvern team. In their 4 losses, they had 16 sacks last season. They were over-penalized, in the words of Coach Dave Carrera, and they wanted to clean that up. And we mentioned you bring in the transfer Redden from Kennett, and the rest of the line just gets more mature, and they're doing a very good job today for sure. It's Keith McGuire going to try to rumble through, and he does for a 1st down. McGuire had 31 carries in the first 4 games of the season, just 5 carries in the last 3 games combined. But again, that's a product of Quincy Watson being available and playing, and you want to save McGuire for the defensive side of the ball where he's going to play at the next level.
Well, I think McGuire as a linebacker and a wide receiver tight end, in terms of handing him the ball out of the backfield, I think that's done on an as-needed basis.
4th play of the drive, already 2 first downs for Malvern Prep. Quincy Watson skating his way to the outside. That's a very individual effort. Ball is out, but the whistle's blown, and Watson is down into Episcopal territory at the 49-yard line.
Now, the one thing I could say about Quincy that you don't see from a lot of running backs at this level is the patience. There are a lot of times that we see Quincy willing to set up his offensive lineman for blocks, willing to wait and see what develops in front of him before just forcing the issue. And especially given the fact that he does have the power to force that issue, I think the patience is really something to keep an eye on as we go forward.
Top wide receiver target last year, and then O'Shawn Allison left, and Watson filled the shoes as he tries to make his way toward the first down marker, and it'll be about a yard short. He's tackled on the play by D. Benedito, the sophomore for Episcopal. And Watson's been playing since he was 6 years old, and he said he's been playing running back mostly his whole life. And so fans didn't have to worry at the beginning of the season, how do you replace a guy like O'Shawn Allison? Well, Watson has, if there were any doubters, has silenced those critics for sure, averaging about 5 yards a carry, approaching 400-plus yards on the season in just a limited amount of time. That's Nick Carrera, and he's wrapped up on the play by Billy Adams. At the stick, it looked like he needed one. Adams and Barley did not stop Carrera for the first down, apparently.
Needed one, got one.
And I like what Coach Guerrero's doing here, shuffling in different running backs. There's more short yardage guys in. You know, I call them short yardage guys, but the numbers say otherwise. Is both Nick Guerrero and Keith McGuire averaging around 5 yards a carry, and Guerrero around 7 this season.
Well, today when you're going Watson for 8, Watson for 9, Watson for 12, 5 yardage is short yardage.
7th play of the drive, the toss to Watson. Watson doing this all on his own and getting some help from the blockers. Still staying on his feet. Apparently now they'll mark him down at the 40-yard line. I don't know if I ever heard a whistle. It seemed like he stayed up, but he's going to be marked down.
I didn't hear a whistle either, and then everyone just sort of stopped playing, and it looked like a Episcopal defender had Quincy lined up for what appeared to be a big shot, and the officials blew it dead. Decided to mark him down back at the 40.
A senior out of Norristown. Tough run there. Got some nice blocking up front by Buck Walsh. We've called his name a couple of times on the offensive line.
Back to the Wildcat.
Lonnie White will take another snap there after his 20-plus yard gain moments ago, trying to make a couple of men miss. We've got a flag on the play inside the 35-yard line. And an Episcopal player pleading its case. And that will be Jack Purcell, one of the seniors, one of the 7 seniors for the Churchmen.
He pled his case and he was heard.
You see a lot on TV, of course, of the D-backs pleading their case, looking for that flag. You don't necessarily see or hear about the D-linemen, and boy, there was a hold there for sure.
Yeah, and Purcell knew it, and the referee knew it. I think the referee and Purcell had a moment there where they kind of looked at each other, and the referee said, "Don't worry, young man, I've got you." And out came the flag.
2nd down and 18 for Malvern Prep after that penalty. Final 3 minutes and counting of this one. 24-7, Malvern in front. Tightly contested first half. Malvern was on top 10-7. The score was tied once there, and then Malvern has been able to coast to this point. And it'll be Gunther throwing downfield. White trying to make a one-handed catch. Cannot. Nice job delivering the blow at the end of the play by Jack Bush, the senior.
And he had Bush beat, no question about that. Just a tad high.
White needs to apparently get his arm a little bit longer. That's the 3rd time he nearly missed a one-handed catch opportunity.
Yeah, I appreciate Drew's confidence in Lonnie's speed and agility, but got to give him a chance on a couple of these. He's just missed him high and long on a couple of throws today.
So that incompletion stopped the clock with 2:42 to go. Gunther looks right, finds Lonnie White, much shorter this time, trying to make some things happen with his legs now after the play. He is downfield across the 30, 20, and he slips. The Turf Monster gets him near the 15-yard line. I'd say that's a first down for Lonnie White.
And that's a heck of a job when you're going to convert a 3rd down and 18 into a first down deep in Episcopal territory.
Had a Churchman player down, and still down on that far sideline. So Lonnie White has had a 20-plus yard run, and now he's gone 20 through the air. But most of that, as we've mentioned, were after the catch. We saw that a little bit last week against Penn Charter. Throw the short play, and with the athleticism and speed of the receiver, get the extra yardage that way.
No question about it. And phenomenal homecoming crowd here at Malvern Prep today, Kevin. And forgive me if I'm a little distracted, partner. We have a pig roast going on behind us as part of these homecoming festivities, and it's getting to be close to dinner time. So
yeah, and how did you find out about that? You were looking that up the whole way, right? you came here and told everyone you knew that they had a pig roast going on for the alumni.
A brief visit to the Malvern Prep website this morning. Like to stay informed.
2:30 to go in the game, 24-7. Malvern Prep in the lead, trying to close things out and win their 8th straight game of the season, remain undefeated. As we've talked about before, the Interac does not want to join the PIAA, so Malvern has to take it where they can get it in terms of their postseason accolades, and their goal this year is to finish with that undefeated season. Now on the run to the outside.
Look like Tyler Francis, number 24.
His first carry of the season, the senior from East Hallowfield. Or check that, his 4th carry of the season. He actually ran against Avon Grove 3 times for 17 yards, so a chance to get some of the backups in on the home field. We have not seen many opportunities to do that. Malvern has had some tight games in the non-league schedule at home.
Now, and I noticed as they were coming out of the timeout, you had Tyler Francis check in at running back. You had Jake Bromley check in at tight end. Billy Carlini checked in at wide receiver. A lot of the younger guys, a lot of the guys who maybe don't get as much playing time on offense, getting some time, as you said, on the home field here at homecoming Malvern Prep this afternoon.
That was another run by Francis there, 1:19 to go. The tackle on the play was made by Paul McLaughlin, the junior for Episcopal Academy. 3rd down and 9 after the 1-yard gain. We'll see how Malvern handles this one, already up 24-7.
Clock running inside of a minute now. Have to assume they're going to keep this on the ground and see what happens.
Gunther has thrown a couple of touchdown passes today. Francis will get the tote, and he is ripped to the ground, a little bit short of the stick by Joe Graham.
Big hit there by Graham.
Final 34 seconds of this one on homecoming weekend, alumni weekend as well. Parking lot filled with cars to our left. Up near that north end zone at Malvern. And looks like they'll just let this one wind down for the Friars. So Dave Carrera, his 2nd time against Episcopal since being the offensive coordinator for one of the more successful stretches in program history, is able to get the Churchmen's number again, 24-7. Malvern Prep continues to remain undefeated, 8-0 on the season for the Friars after the victory.
Kevin, that will perhaps put them in the driver's seat in the Interac. Obviously, we need to find out what's going on with Germantown Academy and Haverford School, but the number 3 ranked in the state of Pennsylvania, Malvern Prep, now moves to 8-0, 2-0 in the Interac, and they look ahead to next week as they travel to the Haverford School for another league contest.
We'll be back in just a moment We'll wrap things up for you from Quigley Field at the Pellegrini Athletic Complex. You're watching Malvern Prep football on SFBN.
Welcome to Granite Run Buick GMC. Here's what some of our customers have to say.
There's more of a family atmosphere here.
Thank you, Granite Run.
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 If you're in the market for a new car or truck, do what I did. Go see my friend Ryan Irish and his team at Granite Run Buick GMC. These guys are the best.
And that's why we welcome you to Granite Run.
Visit us in person or online at graniterun.com.
We'll wrap up the scoring in just a moment, but it's time to get to our play of the game. There have been a lot of high-quality plays, as we've seen all season from the Malvern Prep Friars. It's tonight's Stoll Agency play of the game. Stoll Bonds and Insurance specializes in the construction business industry. For all your bonding and construction insurance needs, go to www.stollagency.com. And for that, Mike, we head to the beginning of the fourth quarter. Episcopal was trying to make a charge down 17-7. It was tough from where they were positioned, and then one of the seniors in the secondary stepped up and got his first interception return for a touchdown.
And Kevin, it was the play of the game. It may very well have been your call of the game as well. Cayman Hayes, the senior, 5'11", 175-pound defensive back, out of Phoenixville, as you said, jumped the route, took the interception up the left sideline to the house, pay dirt, basically put this game out of reach for the Friars.
And Gunther, I think, has eclipsed his passing total from all of last season, which was second all-time at Malvern in the record books as we checked. 1,667 yards last season for Gunther. So he's continuing to creep up on the Wisconsin quarterback, Alex Hornibrook, who had 2,000-plus yards. And another outstanding day passing for Gunther. He had 2 passing touchdowns as we get started with the recap here. It was a first drive success for the Friars, 11 plays, 76 yards. To start the game, a 40-yard touchdown pass from Gunther to Hussey. Hussey's first touchdown of the season. And that was at the 7:21 mark to get on the board, 7-0. So great start for Malvern Prep. A couple of punts back and forth. It was 7-0 after one quarter. And then Episcopal Academy showed why they're no slouch as they were able to march the ball down the field, 12 plays, 81 yards. And Marcus Mcdaniel, good decision, ran it outside the pocket, an 11-yard run to make it 7-7 with 4:59 left in the second.
Real nice job by Mcdaniel on that run, too, as he encountered Keith McGuire at the goal line and did an excellent job of spinning off of the contact and fighting his way into the end zone.
But then 8 plays, 68 yards. We've been waiting for Costantini to get his foot on the ball from a field goal perspective. He did it last week. He's done it again. 29-yard field goal for Costantini to make it 10-7. And Keith McGuire had an interception on a long bomb at the end of the second quarter. It was 10-7 after 2 quarters of play. Then we headed to the third, and Malvern really took over from there after Episcopal Academy stalled on a 6-play drive. It was a 2-play, 70-yard drive, which we've become accustomed to, Mike, from Malvern, those 1 or 2 play drives. 62-yard pass from Gunther to McGuire, had a step on the defender all the way.
And I think, as you mentioned, the idea that Drew Gunther had eclipsed his yardage total from last year, and I do believe it was on that long 62-yard touchdown to Keith McGuire that the yardage was eclipsed, and McGuire kind of caught the ball, shook off a would-be tackler, and took it the rest of the way on his own.
That was with 9:26 to go in the third quarter, 17-7 after another good PAT by Costantini. Then back-to-back fumbles, an interesting part and one that Coach Dave Carrera, always the perfectionist as a coach would be, will be looking back at, but a fumble recovered by Christian Bachrath first. Malvern was in a good spot all the way at the Episcopal 13-yard line, but then they fumbled, did the Friars, on a pitch to Watson. However, Episcopal unable to do anything with it.
Yeah, interesting exchange there. The kickoff after the touchdown was very high, and Malvern Prep pinned Episcopal very deep in their own territory. As you mentioned, Christian Bachrath forces the fumble. Malvern Prep recovers. It looks like Malvern is going to go into the end zone. First play, pass to Ryan McGuire, pass interference penalty. McGuire can't pull it down. Then a new fresh set of downs they decide to get a little bit fancy with the option pitch, bad option pitch, and from there.
Well, and then another great punt by Costantini after Malvern's defense stopped Episcopal on the ensuing drive. And once again, the Churchmen had to set up shop deep inside their own territory, and Cayman Hayes made them pay, as we talked about, with the interception. Took it about 20 or so yards, maybe a little more, to the house to make it 24-7. A ton of interceptions for this Malvern team this season, 15, and 5 returned for touchdowns as well. Very impressive defensively. Another good win to remain undefeated.
Yeah, and that's, for high school, a huge, huge number. For a team to have 15 interceptions with multiple interceptions returned for scores on a season, just an astronomical number, and they still have 3 games to go.
So we talked about the play of the game, and Cayman Hayes certainly one of those players. You look at the player of the game, Drew Gunther, every week. I always enjoy this moment where you go, quote-unquote, player of the game. Mike, do you have one you'd pick? I mean, we're going to hear from, hopefully, Cayman Hayes regardless, but anyone you would pick in particular of this game?
I think it's going to have to be Cayman Hayes today. I think it's the fact that he was playing tight blanket coverage all day. He had the interception with the return for the touchdown that essentially sealed the game for the Friars, and he's been one of those players for Malvern Prep who's kind of been an unsung hero in the secondary all season. Today, homecoming at home here in Malvern, he really all let it shine through.
And speaking of those non-quote-unquote traditional names that we need to mention, Mike Hussey as well, the senior out of media, had his first touchdown of the season, had a big game against Petit, a 2-point conversion there, had a nice tip catch. Hadn't caught the ball much this season, but he certainly did to open the game with that 40-yard touchdown, so we give him credit as well.
And he's a name that we've talked about a lot defensively during the season, but offensively he's been taking on a much bigger role more and more each game as the season has gone on.
So now we'll send it down to Frankie Stokes, who's with Cayman Hayes.
I don't remember when the ball was in the air. I just remember the ball in my hands, and I just started running.
And now you guys advance to 8-0, and you're heading to Haverford next week on the road. Tell me, how do you plan to prepare for that contest?
We're going to prepare like we do every week, come ready to work at practice. We're really tight together as a team right now, and that's why we're doing so well, and we're ready to go. We're ready that we know that we did so well before Interact, and we're going to carry it over to the Interact and get the championship this year.
Cayman, thank you very much. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Frankie. Very happy Cayman Hayes after the victory, as expected. 8-0 Malvern Prep squad. The gauntlet has been thrown down. We are the team to beat. Only 2 games into the Interact schedule, but clearly an undefeated record to their claim. So Malvern's going to move to Haverford School, as Frankie mentioned, a team that they defeated last year, 31-7. Of course, Keith McGuire's wonderful catch that made the top 10 play in Sports Center. You've also got a team like Germantown Academy on the schedule. It's tough to really know how these teams are going to match up with each other in the Interact, but GA was one of those teams with just 1 loss, along with Episcopal coming into this weekend.
And I think the mission is clear now. They beat Episcopal. As long as they go to Haverford next week and don't underestimate the opponent, they should come out of Haverford okay. Then the challenge becomes Germantown Academy. Can you face Germantown without looking ahead to a perceived easier opponent in Springside Chestnut Hill and an undefeated season? Is Germantown going to come in here looking to play the role of the spoiler? You and I believe that's going to be the mentality. So, obviously at this point, Malvern Prep can see it, they can smell it, but they have to take it one step at a time, not get ahead of themselves, and just keep playing Malvern Prep football.
Well, we will see you back at Malvern in that Germantown Academy game coming up on the 3rd at 1 o'clock. Until then, hope you stay safe. And again, Malvern Prep coming up with an 8-0 record heading into next week. For Mike Mataraki, our producer Ari Bluestein, also Steve Silvestro and Josh Bellman, I'm Kevin Fodinger saying so long and enjoy the rest of your weekend.